Now, obviously, if you're going to replace your cabinets, then you're going to be putting in the biggest expense. So let's just use a $20,000 mark as a comparison for the rest of these. Meaning that if you go to replace your cabinets, you decide to invest $20,000 just on the cabinets alone in your kitchen remodel in order to make this work. Now, I have another video that's about how much to budget on your kitchen remodel. I'll put a link in the description. That budget worksheet breaks down how much you should invest in each of these areas. So to give you an idea, if you invest about $20,000 in your kitchen remodel, your overall kitchen remodel cost will run you close to $60,000. Okay, so cabinetry ends up being about a third of the cost of a kitchen remodel. In most cases, there's a few variables I discussed in that video. And by the way, if you like what I share on here, you know what to do. Please subscribe. Okay, so when it comes to replacing your cabinets, be aware of a few factors. Number one, almost everybody that replaces their cabinets does something with the flooring, the countertops, at least some of the appliances, the sink and faucet, the backsplash, lighting, hardware, wall coverings, etc. They might even move some plumbing and electrical or add something that's plumbing or electrical related. So just be aware that it's a domino effect, good, bad, or ugly, for your project as you plan to replace your cabinets. Okay. All right, the next option, when it comes to refacing. Refacing is a great option when you simply don't have doors that you can paint or refinish instead of just replacing the doors only. So refacing suggests you're taking the face, which is the doors and drawer fronts, off the cabinets and putting new ones on. Now, there's a few variables that come into place here, and I'm not going to go into a lot of depth, but I'm going to give you the basics, okay? If you have framed cabinets, meaning there's a frame on the face of the cabinet, 1.5 inches wide or so, that frame has got to be dealt with because the frame is usually visible. The door is going to cover part of that, but you're going to see part of that face frame sticking out past the doors. So that's going to have to be, painted or stained or whatever you're doing with your new doors to match or to coordinate, however you want them to look. But either way, you've got to deal with that factor. Now, refacing costs you about half the cost of new cabinetry. And the only time I would suggest to reface, refinish, or paint is if you do like the layout, how everything's set up in your kitchen, and you do like the construction, meaning the drawers are holding up to the wear and tear that you put on them, and the cabinets are not falling apart, the shelves are not pulling away from the cabinets, and the bottom of the sink base isn't pulling apart. You're not having problems with the way that the cabinets are put together. Okay, as long as those factors are in place, you like the construction, you like the layout, refacing is not a bad option for your cabinetry to give you a fresh look. I would suggest hiring a professional for almost all these things. If you're a do-it-yourselfer and you love to do your handy around the house, great. Just be aware it gets somewhat harder as we go along here. Now, refinishing the cabinets. Now, if you've got stained cabinets and you want to refinish them, meaning you're going to restain them, then you've got to sand them down to get the finish and the stain off of the wood, and then you've got to turn around and prep. Then you've got to turn around and stain it. But you're going to be looking at a situation where the tough thing is getting all the finish off, to be honest with you. I've dealt with, a dozen clients over the last 30 years who've decided to do that refinishing process on their own. I probably would have had 5 dozen, except after dealing with the first handful of them, I started telling people, don't do it. I would hire a professional if I did it, but almost all the ones who did it on their own said that they would not do it again. It was just way too labor intensive than they expected. So I would not recommend to refinish it on your own. However, if you want to do it, just be aware it's very difficult, it's messy. You will probably feel the same way as most of my clients did when you're done. Cost-wise, it's going to run you about a quarter of that. So instead of the $20,000 for new cabinets, maybe $10,000 or so to reface the cabinets, it's going to run you probably about $5,000 to refinish the cabinets. Okay. Painting cabinets, painting is a really good option. When you're going to paint the cabinets, oftentimes the main thing you've got to do is clean the surface. You've got to get the grease and the dust and, any other Mars and markings and stuff. Anyway, you've got to get those things wiped off the cabinets so that the paint will stick to the cabinets. Then go talk to your local paint store. Take a door or drawer front to them and have them check and see what they can use that will stick to it. They might require you to scuff the surface of the paint in order for the paint to stick. This is important. There are some really high quality paints that will stick to existing surfaces in some cases, but make sure to talk to the paint store first, because you don't want to be disappointed to paint over the top of everything only to have it start peeling in certain areas, because the prep wasn't done well enough, okay? Painting is a really viable option. I would suggest to hire a professional for this as well, but if you decide to do it yourself, just make sure you cover your bases. Cost-wise, you're going to be paying maybe just a little less than refinishing, maybe in that $20,000 new cabinet comparison. We might pay, $3,000 to $5,000 to paint our cabinets. It all depends on if you do it yourself. If you do it yourself, you might only spend $1,000 on the supplies, but you'll spend a lot of time, right, prepping and masking and sanding, perhaps in some cases, to prepare the surface for the new paint. But it's a really easy way to go over the top of existing paints or existing stains if you can make it work without having to get every single bit of finish and stain removed from an existing cabinet or paint in that case. It's a really good option. So hopefully this helps you with your planning. If you like what I'm doing, if you disagree, by the way, or if you've done these projects before and you want to say Shad's full of it, then say so in the comments. Or if you want to support anything I say, either way, I don't mind.